¿Qué tal amigos? Bienvenidos a un nuevo video en el canal. Estoy muy contento de estar nuevamente con todos ustedes. Señores, pues lo que están viendo ustedes en pantalla, pues realmente no tiene ningún sentido, pero es real. El presidente de los Estados Unidos, Donald Trump, le está exigiendo 230 millones de dólares al Departamento de Justicia que le paguen al presidente Donald Trump por casos pasados. La verdad, a mí se me hace una verdadera locura porque supuestamente estaban haciendo pues recortes masivos, estaban haciendo recortes en el FBI, estaban corriendo a muchos elementos que supuestamente, y lo pongo entre comillas, no eran necesarios. Y ahora, de la noche a la mañana, Trump le dijo al Departamento de Justicia que le den 230 millones de dólares porque sí. Así que bueno, quédense porque va a estar muy bueno el video, así que adelante con las imágenes.
The New York Times is reporting this afternoon that President Trump is moving to demand that the Justice Department financially compensate him for the various federal investigations into him. What exactly does he want? Nearly $250 million, $230 million to be exact. The Times is reporting that the president filed complaints related to the investigation into possible connections between his 2016 campaign and Russia, as well as the 2022 case around classified documents, where the president reportedly alleges the FBI violated his privacy by searching his Mar-a-Lago property. Let's get off the sidelines, head into the arena. My panel is going to be here to weigh in, but I want to start with one of the New York Times reporters that's a byline on this breaking story. New York Times White House correspondent Tyler Pager joins us now on the phone. He is traveling with the vice president at the moment. Tyler, can you walk us through the reporting you and your colleague Devlin Barrett are laying out here?
Yeah, Casey, thanks for having me. And it is quite a remarkable situation here, right? The president submitted complaints through an administrative claim process, and these date back to before he was elected president for a second term, and they relate to two separate investigations by the law enforcement agencies, as you said. The first one in connection to the investigation into Russian election tampering in the 2016 campaign, and the second one related to the FBI search of Mar-a-Lago as it looked for classified documents. And so, you know, what is remarkable about the situation is the people who are adjudicating these cases are Trump's former campaign lawyers who are now installed in top positions at the Department of Justice.
Tyler, I want to read the statement that CNN just got in. This is from President Trump's personal legal team, so outside the White House. They tell us this, quote, President Trump continues to fight back against all Democrat-led witch hunts, including the Russia hoax and the unconstitutional and un-American weaponization of our justice system by crooked Joe Biden and his handlers. Can you walk us through what you've heard from the president, from the White House, from outside advisors, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, the president himself referred to this very process when he was in the Oval Office last week with Kash Patel, the FBI director, Pam Bondi, the attorney general, and her deputy, Todd Blanche. And he said he was sort of suing himself, and he brought up this sort of remarkable situation in which his Department of Justice is in charge of deciding how much money, taxpayer dollars, he's going to receive. Our sources tell us that he's not yet received that money, but they are hoping and expecting him to do so. So the president is aware of the situation. He mentioned it in the Oval Office, made this oblique reference to this very process and even commented on the sort of remarkable dynamic at play here.
So, Tyler, in this set of complaints, does the president single out anyone by name that he thinks did him wrong?
I mean, part of it looks at, he puts the blame right at the top, which is the attorney general under Biden, Merrick Garland, and also Christopher Wray, the FBI director, and Jack Smith, the special counsel who was investigating Trump. So all of this this, Casey, fits into the broader rhetoric and actions we've seen from the president before he was elected and through his current administration. It is targeting the very same people he has long railed against, which are top law enforcement officials under the Biden administration. And so this claim is, in line with the public remarks he's made, and also in line with his directions, very, sort of explicit directions to his now law enforcement officials to investigate these very people.
So, Tyler, you report in your piece that protocol for DOJ is that settlements of claims against the department for more than $4 million, so way less than the claim here, quote, must be approved by the Deputy Attorney General or Associate Attorney General. So, given the types of people that Trump has installed at DOJ, these are people loyal to him. Is the expectation here that they're going to give him the money?
That is the expectation from, senior officials we spoke to in conversation. We asked the Department of Justice for comment, and a spokesman said, in that they will follow the guidance of career ethics officials. But it's important to note that in July, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, fired the DOJ's top ethics advisor.
Indeed, important to note. Tyler Pager, thank you very much for your great reporting on this, for going out of your way to join us on the phone. I really appreciate it. All right, our panel is here in the arena. New York Times journalist and podcast host Lulu Garcia-Navarro. CNN political commentator Jonah Goldberg is here. Former senior policy advisor Ashley Allison for President Obama. Former Trump campaign advisor and Republican strategist David Urban. And we're also joined by Professor of Constitutional Law and Global Health Policy at Georgetown University, Michelle Goodwin. I want to go to Michelle in just a second on kind of the details here about the DOJ. But Jonah, I'd like to start with you kind of on the politics of this. And the righteousness of it, or lack thereof. What is your initial reaction?
I think it's weird politics. Look, I'm on the record. I think that the New York and Georgia cases against Trump were really flawed and should never have been brought. I thought most of the federal ones were much more defensible. But I just think it shows you what a different time we're in, that this is even being considered, given that we're in the middle of a government shutdown. People are losing their paychecks. Trump has already been accused of profiting off of the presidency, and the optics of, while smashing down the East Wing of the White House, collecting $250 million and keeping and bringing all of this stuff back up in the news, right? There's this criticism that you hear a lot, that he cares too much about himself and wants to relitigate all these things in the past. He is reintroducing Russia as a thing to talk about, to get to monetize for himself. I think it's really weird politics.
Can I just also say, the thing that has not been said is that those $250 million are taxpayer money.
Yeah.
This is the people's money. This is my money, your money. Whoever pays taxes, that's their money going into the president's pocketbook. That is what we're talking about here.
David Urban.
Yeah, listen, I agree with Jonah. Most of those cases are brought against the president are just egregious, right? The Letitia James case, the Alvin Bragg case. I was, a part of the 2016 campaign firsthand, and had to suffer through the James Comey, Russiagate, watching my friends get dragged before grand juries. So I can understand some of what the president wants. But to Lulu's point exactly, this is taxpayer dollars, right? If the president wants to get an apology from the Department of Justice or from somebody for doing him wrong, one thing. For John Q. Public to come out of their checkbook to pay him money, it's not like Donald Trump's brand has been hurt by that, right? If you go around the world and look at the Trump developments and the Trump properties and how profitable the Trump organization is today, I don't think it was harmed by any of that. He may be personally aggrieved and deserved an apology from some of these folks, but I think taxpayers paying that is it's probably not something that you want to see.
Well, and Michelle Goodwin, to that point, can you just pick up there? Because, the Times does write, quote, the situation has no parallel in American history, end quote.
That's right. It has no parallel in American history, just as there is no parallel when the United States Supreme Court granted Donald Trump and any future president absolute immunity nearly for any kind of criminal engagement. And certainly the concerns at that time amongst judges, amongst constitutional law professors, given that that was unprecedented, what would that mean in terms of future conduct by Donald Trump? Now, it is important to note that this administrative appeal that he has done for this started not within recent weeks. It's been disclosed, but it started in 2023 and then another in 2024. It certainly does not smack of being presidential, and certainly others would probably say, including those who've been Trump supporters, that his behavior is not always presidential. But the point that's been made by members of the panel that is very clear is that this would come out of taxpayers' dollars. The other concern with this is that installed in the Department of Justice are individuals who have been personal attorneys for Donald Trump. And that conflict, there is a conflict of interest there, and we'll see how that also plays out with this. It's very concerning.
Bien, señores, pues esto es un
The New York Times.
auténtico escándalo. La verdad es de que los mayores escándalos de los que yo he visto, pero parece que cada escándalo por parte de Donald Trump se supera uno tras otro. O sea, el cinismo total de Donald Trump de pedirle, y bueno, exigirle al Departamento de Justicia 230 millones de dólares, que ese dinero viene por parte de todos los contribuyentes, literalmente se está escudando por un daño moral por las investigaciones pasadas en su contra. O sea, caray, o sea, en serio, ¿así la gente de dinero se hace de dinero? ¡Wow! ¡Wow, wow, wow! En serio, justamente en videos anteriores yo les decía que cómo es posible que Donald Trump pueda ser el presidente de los Estados Unidos si realmente él ha estado en espectáculos de lucha libre, él ha aparecido como actor en películas. Realmente el tipo es un showman. De político no tiene nada. La historia lo ha dicho así, no es algo que nos estamos inventando, señores, es algo que estamos viendo. O sea, realmente están normalizando en los Estados Unidos el desfalco de 230 millones. 230 millones, o sea, es una locura. Es una locura y todavía hay gente que lo apoya. ¿Es en serio? O sea, ¿es en serio esto? Caray, o sea, 230 millones de dólares se los está exigiendo al Departamento de Justicia por las investigaciones de los casos que, bueno, que él fue investigado, o sea, no, o sea, es en serio, literalmente, y si yo creo que no se los dan, va a hacer algo para firmar un decreto o algo, pero los va a tener, los va a tener. Pero bueno, señores, hasta aquí el video. Me encantó estar nuevamente con todos ustedes. ¿Qué opinan al respecto? Sin duda, esto creo que están asaltando a las arcas públicas de los Estados Unidos. La verdad es que yo creo que no se lo merecen los ciudadanos que trabajan todos los días por llevar un plato de comida, por llevar un pan caliente a la mesa de su casa, para que personajes como Donald Trump le pidan 230 millones de dólares al Departamento de Justicia porque sí. Pero bueno, les mando un abrazo, los veo en el siguiente video que también va a estar picante. Bye bye.